African youth are furious with ECOWAS for acting as a puppet for the West and attempting to meddle in the internal affairs of African nations. Nigeria appears to have gone above and beyond the other ECOWAS members in becoming a lapdog for its masters in the West. Even though everyone was furious, the leaders of other African nations kept quiet and did not denounce ECOWAS. Sam George, a member of parliament from Ghana, broke the stillness by outlining what Tinubu and ECOWAS wanted to achieve. He severely beat them and referred to them as puppets from the West. Additionally, he claimed that if ECOWAS intervened, African nations would take action that would surprise both the West and its lapdogs in Africa. What actually was said, and what is ECOWAS' current state of mind following this warning? Let's investigate this and learn the full story. Sam George, a well-known member of parliament from Ghana, was openly critical of ECOWAS, and particularly of Nigerian President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, in an interview with the local media outlet. He declared that Western meddling in African countries was over, but associations like ECOWAS are turning into tools for the West to abuse. Bola Ahmed Tinubu, the president of Nigeria, is one of the puppets who has been ordered in secret by France to invade Niger. Yes, everything is focused on what's going on in Niger, since it's the nation that's sometimes referred to as the cemetery of the French Empire. France will lose every other African nation if it loses Niger. Additionally, France receives uranium from Niger, which it sorely needs to meet its energy needs. France is therefore pressuring ECOWAS to launch a military operation in Niger in order to put an end to the coup there. The Nigerian president is being used as the focal point for this, since it is simple to manipulate him as a puppet. For this reason, he requested authorization for a comprehensive military involvement in Nigeria in a letter to the Nigerian Senate. Yet why? Well, the only objective is to protect French interests. The Nigerian Senate, however, guided him in the correct direction. Sam George said he applauded the Senate for instructing the Nigerian president to pay attention to events in Nigeria rather than those in Niger. According to Sam George, there is a specific time when you can leave the house in Nigeria, because if you do so later, you risk being mugged and robbed. However, it's possible that the Nigerian president resides in a separate Nigeria. For him, the priority is to invade Niger rather than pay attention to the domestic issues and concerns. It's because his colonial lord ordered him to do so. Let's first learn more about what Sam George said before we discuss his personality, the actuality of the Nigerian president, and the initial motivations behind the creation of ECOWAS. People, he claimed, are beginning to awaken, so ECOWAS must consider all options carefully before taking any action. It does so because it will later regret taking a Western side and invading Niger. He made it very clear that the security agreement between Nigeria and Burkina Faso will ensure that no involvement is possible. According to the security agreement, if any of these three nations are invaded, the militaries of all three nations will declare war on the invader and engage in combat. According to Sam George, the world has to comprehend more how capable African people and nations are of running their own affairs. The West and its allies, including ECOWAS and the President of Nigeria, should not act with the delusion that their action will be welcomed and won't face opposition. However, Sam George, who is this man? He is one of the few African parliamentarians who has spoken out against Western imperialism and ideological experiments in Africa, and he is a member of Ghana's parliament, Nardi Sam. At Ghana's eastern region, at Somania, George was born. He graduated from Canust with a bachelor's in agricultural engineering and from the University of London with a law degree. He graduated from the Kofi Annan International Peacekeeping and Training Center with an executive master's degree in conflict, peace, and security. Sam Narti. George held the position of assistant director at the Office of the Head of Civil Service from 2010 to 2014 during his professional career. From 2014 to 2016, he later served as a communications specialist at the President's Office. When Sam George defeated the incumbent Enoch T. Mensah in the NDC primary for the Ningo Prampram constituency in 2015. He set an important political milestone. In the 2020 election, he won the Ningo Prampram constituency parliamentary elections with 63% of the vote, furthering his political legacy. Sam George's retention as the National Democratic Congress parliamentary representative for the Ningo Prampram seat in the 2023 NDC primaries for the 2024 parliamentary elections was an amazing accomplishment. Elections. Sam George is now a member of the Communications Committee as well as the Public Accounts Committee. He has criticized Western ideals for their role in Africa's troubles. He is well known for his anti-LGBTI views and for calling homosexuality a perversion in public because of this. He and several members of parliament suggested a measure making homosexuality illegal in 2021. But why does he attack ECOWAS and the President of Nigeria? You must be aware of what ECOWAS actually is in order to comprehend that. The ECOWAS, or Economic Community of West African States, a regional political and economic organization made up of 15 West African nations, is known as ECOWAS. In 2019, it was predicted that the population of these countries, which jointly occupy an astonishing 5,142,162 square kilometers, was over 387 million. Even though this group would appear to be extraordinary, many contend that it was founded in order to maintain French dominance in the Sahel region. Within the larger African economic community that encompasses the entire continent, ECOWAS enjoys a distinguished position as one of the important regional blocs. By creating a cohesive and expanding trade bloc and a complete economic and trading union, it aims to achieve collective self-sufficiency among its member nations. The sole objective is, in fact, economic cooperation, neither military intervention nor any other form of security activity. You should be aware that ECOWAS is made up of 15 member states, 8 of which have a French-speaking majority, 5 of which have an English-speaking majority, and 2 of which have a Portuguese-speaking majority. In other terms, it's a grouping of once colonized African countries. Except for Cape Verde, which joined the organization in 1977, all current members joined as founding members in May 1975. It's important to note that one of the founding members and an Arabic-speaking country, Mauritania, decided to leave in December 2000, but then re-established an associate membership agreement in August 2017. Mali faced its second military coup in 9 months, leading to the suspension of ICAO. After a military coup in 2021 that resulted in the implementation of sanctions, Guinea faced a similar destiny. In 2022, a military coup resulted in Burkina Faso's suspension from ECOWAS as well. Following a coup d'etat in 2023, Niger faced suspension, and the prospect of military intervention to restore the ousted president lingered in the distance. It seems absurd, doesn't it? How is it possible for an economic alliance to expel members for political reasons? Knowing this, it is obvious that ECOWAS is not responsible for engaging in military involvement. Instead, as its name suggests, it was exclusively designed for economic collaboration. France, who is attempting to turn this organization into a military one, is the one who came up with the idea of military involvement. This was only possible if the ECOWAS members could be persuaded to support a military invasion. The best man to be bought and used as a puppet was chosen to be the president of Nigeria. You can easily see why he is backing what France wants without it being complicated. Why does he ignore Nigeria's political, economic, and security issues in favor of the coup in Niger? When you consider why he is the only African president advocating for a military involvement in Niger, things become fairly clear. France is attempting to maintain its hold on power in Africa, despite the fact that African nations are gaining their actual independence, as we can see in Niger, Burkina Faso, Mali, and Gabon. Therefore, anything France does for Africa right now should be seen as an effort to reclaim its power. Additionally, it indicates that a compromise has been reached between them if someone in Africa is supporting French demands. I want to thank you for watching this film in this regard. Please leave a remark below if you have any queries. ECOWAS and the Nigerian President are both promoting ideas that France favors. That is the main justification for France's support of ECOWAS. In order to support efforts to overthrow the most recent military coup, France announced its support for an ECOWAS operation in Niger. The economic community of West African states has advanced to the point where its defense chiefs have developed a strategy for military action should the coup leaders fail to restore the legitimately elected President Mohamed Bazoum. General Abdourahmane Tiani, the 59-year-old coup leader from Niger, has stated the junta's desire to remain in power. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe to our channel if you want to see more content about Black history, culture, and civilization. Let's move on now. The former colonial power, France, declared that it would continue to back ECOWAS's efforts to stop the coup. However, it was unclear if this backing would also include military aid for a legitimate ECOWAS operation in Nigeria. You see, France is utilizing African nations to battle Nigeria, another African nation, in the background. That has been a colonial power technique that is still in use today. According to the intervention plan, the heads of state would decide when and where to intervene, as stated by Abdel Fattah Musa, the ECOWAS Commissioner for Political Affairs, Peace and Security. The plan's parameters and the timetable for action are still unknown. An ECOWAS mission was in Algeria and Libya over the weekend, meeting with important regional partners to gain support for any prospective military action. Following the recent coup in which a group of generals removed and arrested President Mohamed Bazoum, the main regional grouping in West Africa has set a particular deadline for a prospective military intervention aimed at restoring democracy in Niger. The Economic Community of West African States agreed to call up a standby army as a last resort in the event that diplomacy failed. The precise time of this move, however, was not made public. At the conclusion of a two-day gathering of West African army leaders in Accra, Ghana, Abdel Fattah Musa, the ECOWAS Commissioner for Political Affairs, Peace and Security, expressed the organization's readiness. He added that they have already decided on the D-Day and have adjusted the intervention's prerequisites. Nevertheless, ECOWAS is committed to attempting a peaceful dialogue with the Nigerian military authorities. Insisting that no doors had been closed, Musa stated, "As we speak, we are still gearing up for a mediation mission to the country. In case the continuing talks with the coup organizers end in failure, the defense chiefs gathered to finalize the specifics of a prospective military action to restore President Bazoum." Let there be no mistake, Musa stressed, that the brave forces of West Africa, including both military and civilian components, are prepared to answer the call of duty if all other choices fail. According to an ECOWAS official, the majority of the 15 member states are ready to contribute to the joint force, with the exception of Cape Verde and those that are also ruled by the military, such as Mali, Burkina Faso, and Guinea. You can see from this that the majority of civilian presidents and leaders are puppets of the West. The leader among them is the President of Nigeria. It serves as a good litmus test to determine who is really committed to France and Africa. However, there are several political and legal barriers that must be overcome before an ECOWAS military intervention against the coup leaders in Niger can take place. This includes the requirement for consent from the legislatures and senates of the participating West African states, some of whom, like the region's giant Nigeria, have already voiced opposition to military action. The executive director of the West Africa Center for Counter-Extremism, Muturu Mumuni, has noted that ECOWAS appears to be delivering conflicting messages about how it plans to handle the crisis in Niger. Even though the bloc has underlined that using force should only be a last resort, the emphasis on military involvement is another aspect that might not be well received. Mumuni continued, "There is no local community support for war or military involvement in Nigeria. The coup in Niger is seen as a turning point for ECOWAS, which has struggled to stop coups in the region. the alliance has enacted severe travel and economic sanctions. However, as talks stagnate, the Nigerian military leaders are regaining control of the country, giving ECOWAS few options. It seems that France's motivation for founding ECOWAS has not come to pass. More coups are occurring, and France is in a precarious situation. As a result, it is openly endorsing ECOWAS's plan for military intervention in Niger, without regard to what the rest of the world may think. It's because this idea isn't owned by ECOWAS. Instead, it was ostensibly granted by France. The military authorities in Niger have ordered the armed forces to be on high alert due to an increased threat of assault, even if a military intervention in Niger is not possible. ECOWAS, the principal West African bloc, has been in talks with the organizers of the July 26 coup. However, if diplomatic attempts fail, they have signaled their preparedness to send in the military to re-establish constitutional order. Maximum readiness is required to respond to potential threats efficiently and prevent a surprise attack. According to an internal memo from the defense chief of ECOWAS, it stated that there are more frequent threats of violence against the national land. Contrarily, ECOWAS minimized this threat and underlined its dedication to accommodating it. Military action is still a possibility, but there will be diplomatic efforts. For the avoidance of doubt, let me emphasize unambiguously that ECOWAS has neither declared war on the people of Niger, nor is there a plot, as it is alleged, to invade the country. That is what ECOWAS Commission President Omar Al-Yotour said. Concerns about increasing tensions that could further destabilize the already unstable Sahel area have been raised after ECOWAS activated a standby force in August, in preparation for a potential intervention. Thousands of people rallied in Niamey, the country's capital, in support of the military officials behind the coup last month. 2/3 of the stadium was filled with spectators listening to speeches from military and coup officials. The protest served as a show of solidarity for the National Council for the Safeguard of the Homeland, which assumed control on July 26 following the fall of President Mohamed Bazoum's administration. General Abdurrahman Chiani's CNSP has concentrated its criticism on France, a former colonial power. As a result of the French ambassador's failure to meet with the country's new leaders and other measures that were detrimental to Niger, tensions between the two countries grew. After that, France said that it would quickly remove its troops as well as its ambassador. It seems like France wants to avoid projecting a negative or evil image in this circumstance. It presents itself as a broker of peace and a nation that backs ECOWAS, an association of African nations. The African leaders must realize that they can no longer be used by France and other Western nations. There are currently plans in place to prevent military action in Niger, regardless of whether it occurs or not. 3 countries in the Sahel region of West Africa that are currently ruled by the military are Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso. They are obligated by this commitment to stand behind one another in the case of insurrection or outside assault. These nations' differences with the regional bloc, the economic community of West African states, which has threatened to use force to restore constitutional government in Niger, have been exacerbated by the most recent coup in Niger. These 3 nations have developed their own, more potent than any other pact, to counteract this menace. In the event of an attack, Mali and Burkina Faso have promised to support Niger. Any violation of the sovereignty and territorial integrity of one or more contracted parties will be regarded as an invasion against the other parties, according to the Alliance of Sahel States' charter. The agreement permits the use of force either individually or collectively. Assimi Goïta, the head of the Mali junta, announced the formation of the Alliance of Sahel States on social media, adding that its goal is to establish a framework for mutual defense and aid. How do you feel? What should the awakening African countries do with eco-waste to get free of the lapdogs of the West? Is it not true that ECOWAS serves to protect Western interests in Africa, more so than the UN run by the West? Please share your opinions on whether Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger should join forces to oppose ECOWAS and keep it in check. Would you like to see more movies like this one? If so, click the bell icon next to our channel and subscribe. We've made the decision to present videos on a topic that is rarely discussed: the history, culture, and civilization of Black people, as well as evidence of their brilliance. Stay tuned until the next video, and thanks for viewing.